introduction. Welcome to the fourth webinar of the Sustainability Lab series. The Sustainability Lab is a project that we started, my colleague Helene and I from Aurora started in autumn 2020, looking at the environmental impact of touring in the performing arts and how we can make improvements. We have an ambition to get a better understanding, share information, and create networks of people who are trying to work in an environmentally friendly way in the performing arts. And the three main outcomes from the project are this webinar series, the toolbox, which is coming out at the end of June, and a library of resources, which are all free to access. A little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this webinar, so if you don't want to appear, please turn off your cameras. Also keep your microphone in mute unless you are speaking. Also, you can ask questions during the presentation. So if you have a question for Fine, please use the raise hand function on the right-hand side on the reactions button and write your name on the chat so that we know the order of people asking questions. And we also have Finula with us today, who is doing technical stuff in Zoom. So if you have any technical issues, please write to Finula directly. And for any other questions, you can write to myself or Helen. And today we have Fine Stammnitz from the Green Touring Network, and really excited about this webinar, Green Touring Best Practice from Music. And Fine, as some of you already know, is the founder of the Green Touring Network and also a founding member of Music Declares Emergency in Germany. Welcome, Fine, and over to you.
Hi, thank you so much for the invitation. It's nice to see so many familiar faces in here. If that's cool for you, I would really like to start with a really quick spotlight round. If everyone could just unmute themselves for like 10 seconds and say their name and why they're here today, that would be really great before we dig into. Maybe Katrin, do you want to start? Sorry, I know you have to pick you.
Hi, yeah, I'm Katrin, and I'm a booking agent. I know Fine from Music Declares Emergency, and I find the topic super interesting. I'm gonna pass on to Martina.
Hi, I'm Martina. I'm a sustainability consultant from Zurich. I'm also co-founder of Vers le Futur. That's an organization committed to sustainability in culture and events.
Cool. Maybe pass it on to Sarah. I just say the order I see on my screen.
Hey guys, my name is Sarah. I'm based in Berlin as well, and I know Fine from Music Declares Emergency. And yeah, I'm just excited and super interested in the whole topic. And I pass on to Merit. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yes. Hi, my name is Merit. I'm from Gessnerallee, Zurich, and we also have music. So I'm here because I'm responsible for sustainability within the organization. I pass it on to Claudius.
Hi, everybody. I'm working for Aurora Nova as well. In Berlin, I'm a booking agent and I'm touring circus productions international. So it's very important for me and us to make it more sustainable as we fly across the whole world all the time. And we try to book, of course, tours together, but still there's a lot to do to make it better.
Sweet. Maybe Wolfgang?
Hello, ich bin Wolfgang Hoffmann. I'm the director of Aurora Nova and very interested in this topic and wanting to make our company sustainable, and very happy about the work that Carolina and Helene have been doing in the last months and excited to hear more.
Sweet. Simon?
So is that me?
Yes.
Sorry. Simon. Yeah, Simon Dove. I'm director of CEC Arts Link. We're based in New York and St. Petersburg in Russia. And we do a year-round program of fellow exchanges between what is now 37 countries in the US. you can imagine, somewhat challenged at the moment. But we're looking at how we can really shift. We do long-term residencies, but we're looking at how we can minimize the impact of travel, develop more online residencies and virtual connections, as well as in-person ones, and what else we can do to genuinely ameliorate the carbon footprint of our program.
Then maybe pass it on to Steffi.
I'm sorry, my camera doesn't work. My name is Steffi. I'm the artistic director of the Palazzo Dinner Shows in Germany and Austria. And we have usually a 5-month season, and we work together with international artists from overseas, from all over Europe. And I don't know, Corona did something to me. And I think the main thing is basically that I have capacities really to address super important topics, or that are really important to me. So yeah, this is the reason why I'm here, and I'm super grateful to Aurora Nova for that possibility. I haven't missed one session yet, so thank you so much.
Aurora Nova Ultra, nice. Maybe pass it on to Christopher.
Yeah, hi, I'm Christopher, and I am a circus artist, and I'm just in generally like interested in that topic and trying to live my life as sustainable as possible, and trying to just go deeper into the whole topic, and also try to maybe, I don't know, find a new way of work for the future. So it's just yeah, spreading out my little I don't know how it's called, to
Antennas.
figure, like to feel where this path could go.
Very nice. Anna?
Sorry, no camera here as well. I'm also from Palazzo, based in Hamburg, Germany. And I guess Steffi and I, we just realized that using the time off due to the Kurzarbeit, we wanted to maybe start implementing some other important topics at our firm. So here we are.
Nice. Tim?
Hey, nice to meet all of you. My name is Tim. I'm also based in Berlin, and I work mainly with the production of business events, but also sometimes some festivals in summer, as soon as they will be happening again. And in general, I'm very interested in the topic of sustainability in events, and that's why I'm joining. Thanks a lot for having me.
Sweet. Tammo?
Hello, I'm Tammo, a freelance production manager in Berlin for performing arts, and also, yeah, just very curious about what you have to say, because international touring has to become more sustainable. I heard you before in another context and was curious to get updates, or like to get me updated.
Thinking we were in some kind of online conference already. I know this small camera angle. And Robert, the last one.
Yeah, hi, good morning. I hope you can understand me. My name is Robert Sterzig. I'm from the Rudy Renner Agency, and we're just managing different artists from Europe and through all Europe. And yeah, I'm just interesting what's going on, and thanks to Aurora Nova for making this happen.
Sweet. I think we got everyone. I hope you got a nice feeling for the group you're currently in. I got something, so I'm just gonna start now. What I just want to say is, if you have questions like in between, just like already Carolina mentioned, just shoot them. I like it to be interactive, and if something comes to your mind or you want to contribute something which makes maybe because I'm gonna talk from the music business side of things, so if something comes to mind which could be interesting for other genres and sectors and you want to share, then just feel free. Okay, enough of not talking, let's get to the real talking. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yep.
All right, then I just gotta fix that. So, yeah, so nice to meet you all. My name is Fine. I was born in Mannheim, which is in the south of Germany near Frankfurt. And after school, I directly got into the music business kind of thing because I was very interested in working in music. So I started working for a contemporary orchestra, which was a very nice experience. And after that, I went to the Pop Academy, which is a university for popular music, also in Mannheim. And I studied music business there with the goal to become an artist manager. And then it came to the point where I had to write my thesis in the end of the studies. And I couldn't come up with a topic somehow. And then I thought about what really interested me at the moment or what I find relevant at the moment. And the only thing that really came to my mind was climate justice and climate protection. So I wrote about how if the music industry can participate in fighting for climate protection, and if yes, how so? And yeah, I came to very interesting conclusions, and I came to the point that I really thought the music business and the music industry and artists can really help to make an impact. Yeah, so that's why I founded the Green Touring Network basically straight afterwards, which was previously a project by the Pop Academy, which was, they just did the guide and then there was the website, and it wasn't really filled with life. So I'm doing that since beginning of 2020 now. Good starting point for a touring network. Pandemic in the beginning. But yeah, you have to stay flexible, so it's fine. And yeah, and also I'm involved in Music Declares Emergency Germany, and which is also, I'm gonna come to that. This is the slogan, no music on a dead planet. And yeah, let's go. So what the Green Touring Network does is a few things. The first component is education and consulting. So we work with artists and music business companies in order to help them to make their activities more eco-friendly. Also, we are connecting artists, music business participants, and scientists. So, for example, we just had a study group which evaluated the carbon footprint of a band and stuff like that. Also, we're always hungry for new ideas and concepts and technologies, and like to really implement them and share them with others in order to influence them and to maybe inspire them. And campaigns are also a part of the stuff we do. Here's a few examples. We did the Berlin Artists Go Green project, where we worked with the 3 artists you see on the left picture individually in order to develop greener artist concepts. And we also had a few of free online workshops for topics like touring by trade and then private. And the last one was how to make your merchandise more sustainable. In the beginning of lockdown, we also, like together with the band Clan, which you see in the middle, maybe you know them, we did the campaign Stay at Home, Change Your Strom, which was a campaign where artists shared about renewable energies, and we built a website, and people could change their energy supplier to 100% renewable energies. And the supplier would donate 30 euros to the Tafel Deutschland, which is an NGO that helps people in need and gives them food. So yeah, if you don't have renewable energies at home yet, visit the website. I think the link is in the chat now. And yeah, we did that last year. And also, yeah, I'm also involved in activism, as I said. Music Declares Emergency. It's a really cool initiative that originally started in the UK. The core piece is a declaration for emergency, where the music industry declares that emergency is that the music industry has a footprint of its own, and that we want to work on it, and we want to use the power and the force and the how do you say, the shiny music world in order to inspire people and shine a light on the climate emergency. Yeah, so we are going to start with the Green Touring. I'm going to share some information now about the Green Touring Guide, which is basically a guide for artists on how to go on tour greener. It's actually made for bands. So yeah, I'm going to share it now. And as I said, whenever you have the feeling it doesn't work for your sector or you want to add something, feel free to do that. We're going to start off with a little question. When you imagine the ecological footprint of a tour or of an event, what do you think makes up this footprint? Do you have any ideas what components play a role there? Then just raise your hand or unmute yourself. I'm trying very hard to do this interactively.
Just to get started, maybe the most obvious part, probably logistics.
Mm-hmm. Carolina, you
yeah, sorry, I didn't. Yes, mobility, obviously, traveling from place to place, carrying lots of equipment.
Martina?
Also maybe a production of CDs or streaming, these sort of things.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely a part of the footprint of the music industry. In touring, it's not that relevant, but in the recorded stuff, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I brought Steffi. Sorry.
I think it's also how the audience gets to the venue.
Good. Very, very important and good point. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I brought you two footprints of tours here. The first one is the CO2 footprint of an indie band. There were estimatedly like 200 to 300 people at each concert, and it was a tour of 13 concerts. And as you can see, the venues and the audience travel make up 2/3 of the footprint, which is I like when I saw it the first time, I thought it was really crazy. And I never thought about that also, how the people get to the concert plays a role in my ecological footprint in the end. Then we have the merchandise when it gets produced with 12% of the footprint. We have the band travel, which only accounts for 9% in this case, but you have to say to that they just drove with one van, and it was a pretty small travel party, so it wasn't that much of traffic. And then we also have the accommodation where the band slept on tour with 10% of the footprint, and promotion with 2%, but it's a little bit hard to calculate promotion. We're going to come to that later. And in comparison to that, I brought you the CO2 footprint of the band Radiohead, which was measured in 2003 and 2006. And in 2003, they played an amphitheater tour, which means that the venues are very not reachable by public transportation. The people have to travel far to get there. And I think it's pretty crazy because the audience travel made up 97% of the footprint of the concert in this case. For the theater tour, where there were less people and they could reach the venue better, it was a little bit better, but also like it's very like for me it was very shocking how much influence the audience has. But I think that's also great news, because if you can kind of motivate them, and if you can communicate with them and motivate them to use public transportation or get their emission neutral, you can really work on a big part of your ecological footprint. Okay, so the fields we're going to look at now is venues, mobility of the band, mobility of the audience, hospitality, merchandise and promotion, catering, and green communication. And yeah, so I'm just gonna go through it and go through the tips we have there in the Green Touring Guide and share some experiences. And yeah, raise your hand if you got something to say. So when it comes to the mobility of the artist, there's a few things you can look at. So the first thing is very obvious. You can use a train or efficient vehicles, or that's a pretty obvious one. It might get tricky when you carry around a lot of equipment, so you need to find solutions for that. But also you don't have to do like one solution for everything. So a solution could be, if you have a lot of equipment to carry, but also a lot of people, you don't need to drive like 5 vans. You can have one van with the equipment and then make the people travel by train, for example. Then it's of course efficient when you go on tour that you have a linear routing, so you don't go like up, down, left, right, and super inefficiently, but you make most of the way, and you try to book concerts or gigs in the places where you actually. Then of course it's good to keep the travel party as small as possible. The more people you need to transport, the more emissions you're gonna emit. And yeah, also a good point equipment wise is to share the backline or the equipment you have. Maybe when there's other artists touring and you share the venue in the night, or you have bands in the region, you can share equipment, so you don't have to transport it throughout all the country. And if you don't have that, you can also rent it locally in the place where you live, which is of course more stress and more work to do, but yeah, it can be really worth it. And if you're working with supports, I think that might be not that relevant for here, but in the music business, you always have like a support band when you play a concert. And then it's good to not bring one band on the whole tour and also make them go throughout all the stops, but to look for people that live locally there and to just ask them to join you, so the travel emissions get reduced. How to do that? In the phase, it's the booking should be involved. The pre-production comes into the play when it comes to sharing backline or renting stuff locally, and also the partners you work with are the people you should visit for that. And yeah, then we come to the mobility of the audience. As we just saw, the transportation and the traffic of the audience can make up a really, really huge part of the footprint. So we want to work on that. One solution, which is always good, is to include a public transportation ticket in the actual event ticket. It's mostly possible when you work with the people who organize the events, and sometimes it's depending from the venue, but it's a very good incentive if people can come there for free. Of course, you have to take in mind what people come to your stuff. If you have if your audience is mostly students, they probably gonna have like a public transportation semester ticket anyway, so maybe it wouldn't make sense, but mostly it does. Then of course it's good to book venues that are central and venues that the people can actually reach by public transportation. A guarded bicycle parking lot is always a very, very good idea and a very good incentive for people. Also, you can motivate the audience to travel together. Jack Johnson did that, for example. Jack Johnson had a ride-sharing platform on his website where his fans could before the concerts and then join themselves and say that they're going to the concerts together, so there's less cars driving. But yeah, like it's a little bit complicated in the current situation, of course, but for the future these are very good measures, I think. And yeah, it comes to booking venues and fans as the people you need to talk and work with about this. And basically it's all about communication and motivation. There's also like with the artists I worked with, we developed like an incentive system where people get into the concert earlier when they arrive by bike or by public transportation, or they get a nice little gimmick at the merch table or something like that. There's a lot to think of. I think you can actually really individually on what you work with. Yeah, it's a nice way to get creative and very cool if you can really make your audience part of it. Also, you can just talk to them, and if you share your efforts on how you're working on greening your tour and make it less emission intensive, and you say, you know, the audience has a huge part of the footprint. If we all work together on this, and if you all come by public transportation or bike, we can actually make a difference together, which creates also a nice community feeling and makes the people really feel part of the event. When it comes to venues, the thing is that it's of course important to book ecologically sustainable venues, because the venues you play in, of course, also are a part of the ecological footprint of an event. So factors you have to out in this area is energy efficiency. So if the technical equipment is modern, if it's efficient, if they use renewable energies, how it's located and how it's accessible, and the bicycle parking lot, as I just said. So these are things you don't really have an influence on, I know that, and it's also always a part where artists are like, yeah, but what can I do about it? Like, I can't change their energy supplier. But I think it's a nice way, like we did it before a tour we planned that of course didn't take place. We checked out all the venues that were booked and looked at their website if they have any statement when it comes to ecological sustainability. And if they didn't have, we wrote them a really nice email and sent them a guide for green clubs, which is available via Greenpeace Energy. And we really try to, if we can't change it, to really about the first step at least, and motivate them a little. And I think it's, of course, it's not changing anything directly, but if there's more artists coming up and demanding for that, it can lead to a big wave and hopefully to change in the end. So that's in the business field of the booking. And yeah, the booking should do their research and stimulate the venues or the people they talk to at the venues, and see if there's maybe, if it's even good already, or if there's any possibility to change it if it's not good. Yes. When it comes to catering, I'm sure you, as you're all here and you all are just told me that you already took a look at how to live more sustainable, or even like already implementing it in your lives. I'm sure you came across the whole food topic and planetary diet stuff. So the tips for the catering is of course that you have seasonal, regional and ecological food. It would be good if you use no or less meat and animal products. What's also very important is that you plan the amount of food that you need and that you communicate that exactly on your hospitality rider. I don't know how it is in other sectors, but in the music industry, it's really horrible because nobody's hungry. There's like 100 baguettes and little bread stuff that like 3 or 4 of them get eaten and the rest gets thrown away before there's like the actual catering. And I've seen so much food just go into waste on tour, which doesn't have to be like that. So if you have a hospitality rider, you can like talk to your band who wants to eat how much and at what time. And if you communicate that and say like, really, we don't want any more but this, it can save a lot of food, as food waste is also a really, really big contribution to climate pollution. Yes, and if you can't avoid the food waste, or if the exact communication doesn't work out, so a very nice thing to cooperate with food saving initiatives. In Germany, the most popular one is the Tafel, but there's also other initiatives that you can choose, and yeah. Also, when it comes to the choice of the catering company, there's catering companies that are sustainable. If you need help for that in Germany, I can send you a list, or maybe I can share them after the webinar. There's a lot of them who really try to be better and really make effort to be more sustainable. And yeah, if you buy food for the tour yourself as a tour manager or something like that, there's eco labels of the food. It's a little bit confusing because there's lots of them and they say different stuff. But there's nice overviews. I can also maybe share that in the end of the webinar. And I think there's that for every country. So really see if the labels say anything or if it's greenwashing. Yeah, that's part of the pre-production or the person who does the hospitality rider. So just including those points in the hospitality rider and like adding that you don't want any single-use plastic, which luckily already got banned in Germany now, so that's sweet. But yeah, you can put these points on your rider and communicate your efforts to be more sustainable, which is part of the working field of pre-production. And yeah, in addition to the green rider, the pre-production can also do briefings, of course. I just saw something popping up. Is there a question?
There's just a request to send a link to the Green Clubs, and I was Googling, but I couldn't find it. So if you
do you mean the Green Club Index?
Yes, the one that you were mentioning earlier from that you are sending to venues.
The Green Club Guide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a part of the Greenpeace Energy. That's not my resources. I can't really share them. But I think also there's Clubtopia in Berlin who do a lot of work, and I think they have a Green Club guide and code of conduct too. Clubtopia.
I'll have a look.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so if there's no questions, I'm gonna go on. Martina said it already. Perfect. Okay. When it comes to hospitality, there's also a few things you can look at. The first thing is that you book sustainable hotels if your travel party needs to use hotels. This is good via the website bookdifferent.com. They have hotels clustered by their sustainability efforts, and they have labels and stuff, and it's really cool. Which is even better than to use a sustainable hotel is to use private accommodation, as there doesn't need to be a whole new building which needs energy and which needs energy and sorry, my English is sometimes I'm just missing.
You can say it in German and I see if I can translate it.
Rohstoffe. There doesn't need to be
materials, resources. Yes, Catherine, thank you. Resources.
And yeah, pay attention to eco labels. There's also part, and it can be done via briefings, and yeah, you can check out the websites. When you're selling merchandise, there's also a few things you can look at, because in the music industry, that artists start selling merchandise in order to gain money, and it's actually very important for them because the revenue streams via have been declining a lot. So via live concerts and via merchandise, artists were able to earn money, and now they don't have the live concerts anymore, so the situation's got a little bad. And so merchandise is a very good thing for artists to earn money, but also ecologically speaking, it's pretty difficult because producing something new and making a product is always not sustainable. Like always, the more sustainable choice is to not produce anything. So when you're making merchandise, and we also did a workshop to that, if there's like immaterial alternatives you can use for merchandise, or if there's alternatives that are cool you can use. But if you're like merchandise version, the main key is to basically prolong the life cycle of the product you're selling. in order to make it more sustainable. And in order to reach that, there's a few points you can look at. And the first is, of course, to have a very good quality of the product. And then it's very important to be transparent and about the production chain, to really take a look at it and make sure it's fair also, because it should also be socially sustainable and not only ecologically. Is good is a timeless design, because if you jump on some trend and you make your merchandise look like that trend and it's maybe not cool anymore in 1 year and nobody wants to wear it anymore, this is not a very sustainable piece. So it's always good to go just for the classic look. Then it should have a suitable price, and I don't mean suitable cheap, but I mean suitable expensive by that. Because I talked to the people of Greenpeace, and we talked a lot about merchandise because I was really interested in the topic and I worked a lot about it. And he told me one sentence I think never forget, and it's every t-shirt has the same price. The only thing that changes is who pays it. And so if you don't pay the price for the t-shirt that it's actually worth, somebody along the production chain who doesn't get enough money for their work or gets intoxicated by chemicals or something like that will pay the price for this t-shirt. So the t-shirt should have a price which is not like €5, but a price that will make the customer actually appreciate it and actually realize its worth. And point is the emotional aspect, which is also very important. So actually, like everything in life, it's about love, and you want to really establish a connection between your fan, so the buyer, and the product in order to make the life cycle as long as possible. So I worked with Trille, which is a German artist, on sustainable merch, and we really took a really deep dive and talked to a lot of experts on that topic and talked to founders of fair fashion companies. And we actually came up with a solution, which I'm happy if you steal it from us, because it would be good if everyone would do it like that. So we thought about doing a really classic t-shirt with his logo only on it, and not with the new EP, not with the new tour, just his logo, which is manufactured by a manufacturer that we know, that we talked to, that who showed us the production chain, who has all the labels you need in order to make it a good product and a sustainable product. And so we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do a limited amount, and so this will never get old. And then when the fans come to the concerts or to the events, they can at the concert bring their classic shirt and get the logo of the tour, of the CD or something like that printed on the shirt in the place where the event takes place, which is actually possible right now. Also Milky Chance did something like that on their tour. And so it's not even a cool shirt or just a cool shirt, it's a shirt sticker album you had as a kid, you know. It's like with every concert you visit, you get a new print and you get a new thing, and everyone has like a very individual shirt, and I think nobody will throw this shirt ever away. And yeah, so feel free to steal that. I think it's a really good idea. And maybe there's also other approaches you could take, but I think that's yes. So when it comes to green communication, like so now you've taken a look at your activities and you've wondered what could you do to make it more sustainable, and you actually really made a plan and maybe even did the plan already. So now you want to talk to your fans or to your stakeholders about it. There's a few mistakes you can make, and there's a few it's just important to talk about that in order to avoid greenwashing. Greenwashing, I think everyone here knows the term, right? If anyone doesn't know it, just put it in chat or something. So to avoid greenwashing and to be real about your efforts. So you don't want to say we're climate neutral when you just ditched plastic cups or something like that. You want to really like talk about your plan, you want to talk about your efforts you make, and you also want to talk about your failures. You don't want to just talk about your successes, which is very important, I think. I think a very good example for that is Oatly. I don't know if you know I think you know it, the oat milk company. They publish a sustainability report every year, and it's a great read, by the way. If anyone got 5 hours time, just do it. I read it all actually, and it was it's a lot, but it's very, very interesting. And they had their agenda, and they had like fixed goals they set themselves, which were published in the previous sustainability report. And then they did a checkup on how this worked. And one of their goals was to decrease the overall carbon footprint of the company, I think by 10% or something like that. I don't know the percentage anymore. And then they wrote, so yeah, we really couldn't reach that because we reduced the footprint of the single product. But as a company, we grew that much and we went into mainstream market. So the overall footprint actually got higher. But this is a thing you can work with, you know, this is a thing you can rely on, that they're like measured the data and that they publish it and that you can like trust on this data. And I think stuff like this is very, very important. Also, it's good to have sustainability as a part of the artist identity and not as a topic which is like a trend or which is like a sweet accessoire or something like that. Is it accessoire in English? Accessoire? Accessory,
yes.
So, but it's just a normal part of the everyday work, and just as you have other KPI, sustainability should be a KPI too. This marketing and communication guide to green communication, where they say the most important thing is to sell the sizzle and not the sausage. I don't know if you know this marketing guy who sold sausages. In this case, I would say soy sausages. And he said it's so hard to market sausages because there's already plenty of them in the supermarket. But the one thing the others don't have or don't market is the noise it makes when you put it in the pan, so the sizzle. And that's actually the thing he sold then about these sausages, and they sold like crazy. It really, really worked out. And so this is also a part of sustainability communication, that you don't say we do this because it's ecologically friendly and we do this because it's super eco, but you say we do this because it's fucking cool and nice, and it's a great experience, and it's even better than the way we did it before, and also it emits less emissions. So I think this is a really, really important stuff. Not a topic for like idealists anymore or for people who play the bongos, but it's really a topic that we all should work on, and it's like we all should see it as a very important part of the fight for a future, and so it should be no like separate topic. As a conclusion of that, it's also important to always stay real and stick to your usual way of communication. You don't have to be scientific or full on super conscious. You just continue like you communicate your other stuff. What's also very important is that you, even if you took a few steps and you see others not taking those steps, and it really, I know this because I made the experience myself. You get kind of angry if people don't see the problems, or you get kind of angry if people don't take enough measurements and stuff. But that's actually not leading anyway, which is a pity, but it's like that. So it's important to not judge or reprove the people when you're talking about your efforts. So you should always come from a perspective of positive reinforcement. So just share what you're doing, share your knowledge, share your empowerment situations you had in the fight for climate protection and for climate justice, and try to negative things and never do this one. People don't like that. But always try to highlight the good stuff and yeah, motivate. And the last thing is database communication. As I just stated, it's very important that you tell the people where you're coming from, where you're aiming to go, and not like some wishy-washy information that you just want to go super eco-friendly. Yeah, that's I think that's very important. Everyone can find their own tone. There's like a lot of sustainability reports you can check out by different companies. The one I love the most is the one by Oatly, but Facebook and Spotify always also have such reports, and I think most of the bigger companies actually do that now. So if you want to do that, just check it out and swirl around a little, and then you can find your own tone on how you want to communicate your efforts. Also, one other thing I'd like to add is you don't have to have completed the whole journey to sustainability in order to start communicating, because we're all beginners in a way. Nobody's perfect and nobody's eco-Jesus, and we really need to like appreciate the steps we're taking. Yeah. So I know a lot of bands that say, but we can't talk about this because we did this, and I flew last the sprinter, and I can't tell the people now that we're using renewables energies in our rehearsal space or something like that. So that's actually not the point. When you don't communicate, the others are bad, but you say, come on, we just found out this very easy hack and we did it, and maybe you can do it too. That's a good communication. So don't be afraid to talk about it, just make it real, and then your shitstorms safe, but also there's a lot of weird people on the internet, so maybe not, but it's a very good protection measurement. Yeah, so one thing that's really important when you took a look at all this stuff and you made a decision that you want to green your artist activity, set standards for yourself and for the people you work with, and to really make that kind of an official thing, so people know this is an effort you're really taking and not something you're just communicating. So of course, the first thing is to look at your own touring and to go through the list of the things you can do, to go through the emissions you have, and to work on them. This can mean that you do the easy and the cheap things at first, and just start with anything that's easy and light. And then you can make plans for the future. Like I recommend planning for 3 to 5 years in advance, but always keep it dynamic, because as we have just seen, plans are maybe sometimes a little bit difficult. And so yeah, just keep it dynamic and try to work out a plan which can also be adapted, of course, if there's new technologies or new laws or anything like that implemented in the future. But yeah, just take a look at yourself and set yourself a plan, and then go from there. And it's very important. And then you can go on to so to really like fix that mindset, it's very important that you set your own or set your new values and standards. So these are the things we do, these are the things we don't do. Like I had this situation with the band I work with, where we got the offer to play a tour, which was really nice paid and really nice organized, but the party that would have paid for it all would have been Red Bull. And so we were thinking about it, and would have been a great stuff, but we set our values and the standards before, and we just couldn't do it, so we rejected it. And of course, it's on the short term side, this is not a good thing, because you lose the money and you lose the opportunity. But on the long run, I think it's very important that if you set sustainability and if you set like values as a part of your artist identity, and then at the first chance where you could like, oh wow, that's nice too, you just do it. This is not very authentic, and it will also give you troubles communicating about sustainability. And actually, once you've set those values and once you're clear about it and you talk to your business partners about it and they're on the same page, and you checked up and adjusted your cooperation, sponsoring partners, everyone that's basically a stakeholder of your business activities, it will get so much easier to turn down stuff like this, because you actually, it's not a thing you think, a really clear point. And when it comes to external communication, there's also a thing you could do, like talk about and display the steps you're taking, the success and failures you had, just as I said earlier. And then you can use your platform to educate and activate your community. There's a lot of artists standing up for renewable energies or for fair financing, stuff like that. Artists are sharing their everyday sustainability practices, like their sustainability hacks at home or stuff like that. So you really, like, if you have a platform and if you have fans and followers, you really have the power to activate your community and to influence people in real life. And of course, the thing you can do is to join initiatives such as Music Declares Emergency or Extinction Rebellion or stuff like that. There's also a lot of initiatives for the cultural sector in general. There's also Culture Declares Emergency, and yeah, just check it out. And I think it can really be a nice feeling to belong to a group that fights for the same values and to exchange ideas and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and it's also, of course, a good part for your external communication. I brought some good practice examples too. There's Milky Chains, who are doing the project Milky Change now. The sustainability manager of them is also part of Music Declares Emergency. That's why I'm very into the project. They do a lot of stuff. They have a whole blog and a sustainability manager now. And they try to green their tour activities. They plant trees with ticket sales. They had a mobile printing machine on tour where fans could bring their t-shirts they already own and print them in the venue, which was a really cool touch, I think. And also they're really doing a lot of information, and they do vlogs where they show their fans different aspects of their green touring efforts and stuff. So if you want to get inspired, definitely check out milkychange.org. Sorry, I forgot to send you the link, Carolina. I think you can add it. That's a really, really cool project, I think. And here's some other examples I brought to you. The first one is the violinist Lea Brückner. She started a project actually for the Earth Day, which was called Music for Our Planet, where she approached a lot of different musicians, and the task was basically that they stand into the camera and they say, "My name is for the future of our planet," and then they play 30 seconds. And so she gathered a lot of this, and she gathered those videos, and I think it's a really nice idea to make a community thing out of it and to set a fixed tone and to just give the other artists like a kind of a frame in which they can contribute their part. Then the second one is Trille, the one I already talked about with the sustainable merchandise t-shirt, which is very cool. We also took a look into digital emissions with him when we were working with him, which is, by the way, a whole different hour I could talk about. Just to add that maybe quickly, digital is not emission neutral, and there's also a lot of things you can miss. And so yeah, I can send some links for that too. It's a very interesting topic, but I'm not gonna dive deep into that now. And the third one is Una, she's called. She's an artist in Germany, and she does kind of Schlagermusik, and we also worked with her. And the first thing is that in her songs, she already sings about the earth a lot and about nature, and she's like really into nature. And she's living And she has, in the other music genres in Germany, you don't really have that, but in the Schlager you got. So she actually got a fan club of like maybe 50 people who adore her and who would like, who follow her to every concert. They make shirts for her. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And of course she has normal fans too. And so what we did with her was to make fan club events where she talked to her fan club on Zoom, and they shared vegan recipes and they talked about their everyday sustainability hacks and stuff like that. And the fan club got really excited about it actually. And so now the information is planted. She communicated it also to the other fans. We talked a lot about wind farms, and we're actually planning to visit one and make really cool content there until the COVID shit kicked in. But that's gonna follow at some point, I hope. Yeah, but this is also a way, like when you have fans who are really like die-hard fans, you can really use them. Actually, it went really great because then the hardcore fans, they spread the topic to the other fan club. It's now really a thing, and she actually already stated that she's gonna only do sustainable merchandise from now. She's gonna really change the concept, and it's gonna get more expensive. And she's doing that now, and she's taking that step and daring to do that, which is, I think, really nice. And the fans are taking it really well because they know why it's like that. And it actually kind of strengthened the community in the end. So that's really one of my favorite examples. And yeah, the two men on the right, maybe you know them, it's Massive Attack, and they committed to when and to only do that by train. Yeah, there's thousands of other examples, like with my band, for example, we did secondhand merch where we just printed on secondhand shirts and then sold them, which was really nice because every piece was individual and nobody could have the same, and the merch table looked like a vintage store and the fans really loved it. Also, there's like big bands in Germany who tour a lot, who at least start with the catering stuff and always pack the leftovers of the catering in the end in recyclable and reusable boxes and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff happening already, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do right now actually. Which is important to say is I think that in many sectors we still have to wait for technologies from different sectors. So if there's no nightliner that can go by solar power, you can't run your nightliner by solar power. And if there's no way to make festivals go by hydrogen already, like all the way there, which is by the way in the making by the Green Music Initiative, which is really cool. But you see, in some sectors we still have to wait for solutions, but the steps we can take now already matter too. And I think we can have a lot of influence already with that. And yeah, I would really encourage at that and to see what they can and want to do, because apart from it being super urgent and very important to work on that, it can also be a really great experience. And the people I worked with, we always had actually a great time, I guess. And the team spirit really goes up. The motivation of the team members goes up, and everyone knows what they're doing it for. And you meet a ton of cool people who are working in the topics. So yeah, that's from the presentation side of me right now. I hope this was a little bit useful for now. And although the topic is also very fun, I just want to state it's very, very urgent. We don't have that much time left to take action, and the action we take now will determine the future of the music industry, but not only that, but actually our future. So let's get to it. And yeah, I hope I could inspire you a little, and happy to answer questions now. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Fine. That was really, really great. People, if anybody has any questions to ask, put your hand up and then we'll try to take questions in turn. I don't see any yet, so I actually have one, and I'm curious because I have seen a lot of this big band initiatives, which of course is really interesting. I think it was an article that I read a few weeks ago about how Radiohead can, you know, do this greener tours, same with Coldplay, how they're looking into it. Of course, they're very big and they became very famous because they've had many tours, right? What is the situation you think with younger artists, emerging bands and smaller groups who really want to do this, but also don't have the leverage or the agency to really push for the measures? Because we are just now, for example, ourselves introducing the Green Rider to our artists, and a lot of the, I think, impressions that we get is that people feel a little bit scared of demanding certain things from a venue. And I wanted to know from your experience, how was your experience with music? What was the reaction?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course the big bands, they can say, like, actually this was complicated a few years ago. Like one of the biggest bands in Germany, they said we want to play there, but we would like them to have renewable energy, and they were like, yeah, okay, well, haha, it's not your Christmas party here. And so it's gotten a little bit better. But I think actually right now in the music business, the people are very sensible at the moment. They're very aware of the topic, and a lot of people are always already taking measurements and stuff. And like actually nobody can afford to not care about the environment right now, not only for ecological reasons, but also for communication reasons and stuff. So my experience is that even if you can't put pressure on anyone as a small band, and if you can't like change the views of your business partners and stuff like that, you can always be nice, talk about it, and like try to at least push a little into the right direction. And if the more people keep pushing, we can do it, I guess.
Yeah. I see a question from Martina. Martina, you want to unmute?
Yeah, Fine, at the beginning you were talking about the ecological footprint of a band, and the audience travel was one of the biggest parts. Do you know, or can you tell us something about the mix of ways of how people are traveling? Is this huge footprint due to car travels, or are flights involved?
In the Radiohead example, it's because the people had to drive to the amphitheaters, which were very much outside of the center of anything, basically. So there were a lot of car drives involved. But also for bands like Radiohead, they have those international diehard fans who come from all over the world, and there's also fans who like keep on following them through the whole world, basically. So for the band like Radiohead, it was mostly cars and also flights. For the indie band I showed you before, the most people, like a few of them came by car, a few of them by bike, a few of them by public transportation. I think Meret has a...
Yes, we kind of started already to kind of talk to the artists to tell them that we prefer them to come by train rather than flight. But it has been difficult because artists themselves are like, no, I'm busy, I have to move quickly, I have no time to do this. So how much should we, I don't know, like impose that? Because obviously we want the artists to feel good and to like, I don't know, like meet their needs. So I find it quite difficult on like, how far do we go with this?
Yeah, it's a hard thing to talk about this with the people you like kind of hire maybe or engage. So I think what I would never do actually is to say you cannot come by plane, because then the people will be super pissed off, and they will always have the connection in their mind between sustainability and not being able to do stuff that they want to do. And this is just psychologically speaking, I think it blocks a lot of possibilities for the future. But what I always kind of find pretty effective and nice to do is to at first tell them about your efforts. Like for the one festival we work with right now, we have like a one-pager where we state what we are doing and why we are doing this, and what's the plan basically. And then we're telling them to like be proud of it and to engage in that. But yeah, I would highlight the positive stuff, but not forbid them to come by plane actually.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. Merit, we had an experience with a large European theater who was doing this. Basically, they were encouraging artists to travel by train, and we were having a conversation about a particular artist. And basically, it was really lovely. It was a phone call from the artistic director that explained, this is the policy, this is how we want to work from now on. Can we try and find a way in between so that we can still stay within our sustainable work, and this is the effort that we're making. And it really made a difference because, like you said, Fine, there was no restriction or imposition. It was a very friendly call that really, I mean, I was super inspired by the conversation with this artistic director, and it also really empowered me to go back to the artist and said, this is how we're going to do it, because the theater is trying to work in this direction. And there was, yeah, they really turned it into a very positive, empowering message. And I think maybe there's a way to go around it.
Maybe a second question. We thought about doing this because I think it's not always realistic not to fly. So we were thinking about doing this CO2 budget. I don't know if you heard of this or if you know, like, but I don't quite know how to do it.
Do you mean compensation or?
No, like we a maximum budget of CO2 a year that we are allowed to use, and then we kind of like try to ask everyone to come by train and explain to them, etc., etc. But then if there's exceptions, then we change it, and we have like a maximum budget a year that we can spend, something like that.
I think it's basically it's not that different from making like a sustainability plan and to watch your footprint this year and to check out how you want to reduce it for the next year, and like in which way you want to do it, and what parts you want to save and stuff like that. So I always think it's good to have a measurable goal, because then you can go from there and you can see if you succeeded or not, and if not, why not. I think that's actually a pretty good idea in order to also communicate your successes and failures in the end.
Just to add to that, Merit, I've like heard about these like carbon budgets, not so much in relation to like presenters inviting artists, but presenters that impose a carbon budget on themselves when they travel to see work. So like, yeah, they pose restrictions on themselves to try and avoid taking planes, which I think is, yeah, a positive development.
You know, like a concrete example, because I find it still quite hard to actually how to implement that or how to calculate that, like, or anyone I could contact on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. I've just heard it in like meetings like this and conferences about sustainability. I'll look through my notes and see if I can find who was talking about it, and I'll send it to you.
Would anybody else like to ask a question? I have to say I'm really inspired by all these examples from music, and in some ways a lot of them are very similar to touring artists in theaters. I mean, perhaps the venues are slightly different, but it's for me really interesting to see how music has gone so much further in the subject of sustainability, and how the sensitivities have already been adapted to this in music with artists and venues. And I mean, I'm curious, I don't know, Fine, perhaps you have an idea about this. When at the beginning of this journey, what was the thing for you that really sparked it? Was because, you know, there must have been a big band or a big artist or a big venue or a big festival. I know that loads of festivals already started working on the sustainable ideas some years ago, but is there something, was there one event in particular that you think sparked this real movement in music somehow?
So first of all, I'd like to add that those were the good practice examples. And I don't think the music business is as far as they should, or is as far as it should be right now. And of course, I'm trying to highlight the good stuff so people can learn from it, but there's way to go. There's like lots of work to do and lots of changes to make. And I think the most disturbing or most difficult part about all of it is that it's not enough to do less, or it's not enough to do things in a different way, but there's actually, to be really honest, the system has to change. And it's not possible to have the music business like that and not use plastic anymore. That's not enough. And with the crazy curfews, like DJs playing gigs in 3 countries in one night, flying around, like the whole pace of the business, the whole scale of the products you produce and stuff, actually this all needs to change in order to like have a real chance to make it better. This is just as a disclaimer. So I really want to like also say that, because I think it's important to not greenwash it. But I think the band or the event that actually brought all the attention to the topic was Coldplay announcing that they won't go on tour anymore until it's emission negative or climate positive.
Cool. Steffi, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a big dilemma, because on the one hand, I want to support also diversity in our casting. So I want to be able to invite artists from Africa, from South America, from Australia. And on the other hand, you know, it's like flying these artists in, like from overseas, and you haven't addressed the compensation in your carbon emission compensation in your presentation. So I was wondering what your opinion is on it, and because it is something that we've implemented now in our contracts also, that we would share, you know, the compensation with artists, so that we, you know, pay for half of it and the artists. So it is an offer that we make, and I was just wondering, like, what your opinion is on that.
Yeah. So I think the topic is a little bit tricky actually, because of course it's better to compensate than to not compensate, but there's like a lot of differences between the compensation companies you can choose, or the choice you have to compensate. And also as human nature goes, I see it a lot that people are compensating what they do, but not changing anything. And then it's like, I don't know the word in English. It was a big thing in the Catholic Church in the medieval times, where you could like sin and then just buy a little letter and everything's fine.
Yes. The pardons, I think they were called pardons, no? Maybe that's not
Pardons,
the
yeah,
word,
maybe.
but you were just paying a donation and then you were sin-free.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, pardons. So I think like I see a lot of people handling compensation like pardons, and I think that's really, really dangerous, because first of all, there's a lot of tree planting projects that are just bullshit. And I saw a project, or I talked to someone who really wanted to plant trees, and then the company was in big trouble, because so many people wanted to plant trees that they just had no ground left and no place and space for those trees. So the company was like basically steadily on the search for new ground to plant the trees. And it's all like, when you blow this emission in the air right now, and there's a tree growing in like some 20, 50, 100 years, it's gonna be too late. So I think there's also, it's not all about planting trees, and there's compensation offers that you can use that are not tree planting but more efficient, or there's like a mixture. And I think it's important to at first refuse the emissions you don't have to emit, then reduce, and the emissions you really can't cut out and the stuff you're not able to fix right now, I think it's okay to compensate that. And also when it comes to sustainability, you can't forget the social sustainability, the social side of it. And so it might be actually very important to have this artist from Africa here and to do this project. But my advice would be then to see if there's other people who could also profit from that, maybe in Europe too, and to make it as efficient as possible. So maybe to team up to see if it can go somewhere around Europe or something like that, and just try, when you have to fly them in, try to make most of it.
Just one more question. Would you have a recommendation for pages basically that that offer these compensations that you consider as good companies? Or
so I think that Atmosphere is actually really reliable and solid, and that's the one I made experiences with, which in my eyes is reasonable.
Thanks.
Steffi, I have a couple of links of like organizations who are like gold standard verified as well that I can send over.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you. That's awesome.
Not to like, I didn't mean it to just bash compensation as a thing, but I just think it has to be handled with care. Yes.
I have a question, and possibly also for like some other people in this group. But if you could say something about your work with Music Declares Emergency. I know there's like Culture Declares Emergency as well, which is related to the performing arts. But I'm just not like super across like what they do and the influence they have. And I'm wondering if the music industry has a like more active organization.
Do you want to jump in, Katrin, or you want me to do it?
No, actually, I was just typing that I have to leave because I have an announcement in 13 minutes that I have to coordinate. So yeah, thanks everybody for this great panel and the talk and for setting it up. And Music Declares Emergency is awesome, so you should all check it out. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm gonna do it. Music Declares Emergency, as I said, is an initiative that started in the UK like 2 years ago, and it's all about the declaration. If you go on the website, it's directly there. And actually, right now, like we were the first working group that formed in other countries than the UK. And now there's a lot of countries from Europe and also Canada is jumping in and stuff. And it's really going places now, which is super exciting. And there's new working groups launching all over the globe, which makes international action possible, which is like a really, really good feeling. So basically anyone can sign up, whether it is a band, an artist, a fan, a music business company, it doesn't matter, like anyone can. And with signing this declaration, you basically state that you support the declaration, that you also want to declare the climate emergency, you want to be part of that as part of the music industry, and that you commit on making your actions greener and that you work on your activities. That's basically that. And then we have a lot of different stuff happening. So we have a fixed working group here in Germany, which is, I think, 15 to 20 people. It also always depends, like, with the Ehrenamt, what is it in English? The voluntary non-profit work. Like the work voluntary, yeah. Thanks. Sorry, sometimes when you're talking to your computer for a long time, you get a little bit crazy. So because we're all volunteers and we do this because we believe in the cause, it's we always have a bit of a fluctuation, but it's actually, I think it's impressive how steady it is, because we actually as a working group never met in real life before. because we started out in the pandemic and we just know each other via the fucking Zoom screens. It's yeah, it's weird. But yeah, so we do a lot of different stuff. Like we do a lot of presentations too. We go on events or online events and talk about our work there. We also have a resources hub. Like you can also check out our Instagram, where we post a lot of information which is useful for artists and music business actors. Also on our website there can be found a lot actually. And right now we are working on the election for this year and for the campaign we want to do for that, because this election this year is going to be the most important in my eyes ever, because it will decide basically our future. So we want to really rock and roll for that and really get loud and get on the streets and stuff. So yeah, that's basically it's really nice, because in the most of the constellations you work, you have some kind of dependency or some kind of people you can't piss off, or you know. And with Music Declares Emergency, as we're completely free and volunteers, we can say what we want and we can speak the truth basically, and really get to it, which is really nice. So we're also, of course, at the strikes, and it's basically activism, but we try to make it informational too, so people can learn and grow as a music business.
Amazing, thank you. We have time
so much today.
What?
I swear too much for the Zoom meeting.
We have time for one more question. If anybody else would like to last remarks, or I just wanted to say we are going to post now the link for the next webinar for next week. But just to let you know, we are also talking about some of the issues that have come up on the questions today a little bit more extensively. So do join if you're interested. We are talking about touring networks and how we can collaborate with local venues to bring more people. So I just wanted to bring that in. Thanks, Helene. She's just posted it for you. And if there are no more questions, and I don't see any more. Steffi, you have one question, so over to you. No worries.
Sorry, I don't know, it's just something that is on my mind, because Corona has changed everything, and it's very existential for so many businesses right now, and for so many employees facing, you know, uncertainty and not knowing what will be or when we can restart really with the businesses. So, and it's not necessarily a question, but it's something that I'm facing also with my colleagues. And sometimes I feel like, okay, I would like to enforce some change also, but I feel that it is very challenging also in these times to, you know, get people on board, because we are looking into, you know, lower budgets for this season. And I don't know, it's just, it's not even a question, but it is something that I don't know, I'm facing also. And for me, the question is, or what I'm trying to find out is to set the right tone, to always implement it here and then, basically, because many people always like respond, oh no, it costs too much money. But I think it's the smaller steps that I'm trying to set up right now. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I also heard this from a lot of managers when I kind of try to involve them in my campaigns or their artists, and they're like, I know our artists have existential problems at the moment. I'm like, yeah, I know. Me too. But on the one hand, it's completely understandable, I think, and the whole pandemic can be a real buzzkill for the whole mindset, and can really also be like keep you from doing this work, maybe because you feel overwhelmed already by just getting dressed in the morning. That's possible, and that's also completely okay, I think. But the thing is that also now is the time where it's kind of it's a weird pause, so it's a weird freeze we have right now. So this is actually exactly the time where you could set up stuff like this, because now you don't have the rushing day-to-day business, which is going crazy, of course, every day. but you have like a little timeout, maybe. Of course, it's not a timeout for everyone, I know that, but this is a good time to change the structure for the future. And also when it comes to the money argument, actually a lot of this stuff can help save money in the future. And also when there's the CO2 tax coming and stuff, this is going to be very, very interesting also in an economic way. So I think those are very good, like the structure and the kind of pause part is a good argument for the moral side and for the come on, let's do it motivational side. And if you have like a boss or anyone who's like, yeah, but we don't have money for that, there's also arguments actually for economical reasons. And this is gonna come in very handy in the future, I think.
Great, thank you for that. If there are no more questions, then we are then going to close the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Fine. That was fantastic inspiration and presentation. And you have been also a total inspiration to the work that we have been doing in Aurora. So I'm really happy that we managed to get you to do one of the webinars. And thank you, everybody, for attending and for your questions and your input. And do join us next week if you're around for the last webinar, and stay in touch with us if you have questions. We will post a library of resources at the end of June, but we can share things with you now also, and we are happy to help. All right, thank you very much and have a lovely weekend, everyone.